Hello, and welcome to the Corporate Storytime podcast series. My name is Lucas Robinson, the host of the podcast. On this pod, I'll get the opportunity to talk to ASX company leaders and innovators as they run through their personal executive journeys and the stories behind the companies they are helping to grow today. I'll be leveraging my experience as a former stockbroker and my current role with investor relations consultancy, Corporate Storytime. But enough of that. For now, let's gather round, come in close, and let me tell you a story. Hello and welcome back to the Corporate Storytime podcast. This week I'm pleased to welcome Anax Metals Managing Director Geoff Laing in for a chat. Anax trades on the ASX under the code ANX and owns an 80% interest in the Whim Creek Copper Zinc Project in the Pilbara region of Western Australia in joint venture with Develop Global. Whim Creek has a storied history as a mining centre and was last in production under the stewardship of Straits Resources in 2008. Geoff, let's start by going back to the time a few years ago when Anax managed to acquire their stake in Whim Creek. How did a little company like yours manage to pick this asset up?
Hello, Lucas. Yes, there's a bit of a story to that. We had been looking for advanced assets. We had a well-defined strategy. We were looking for advanced, particularly copper assets that we felt we could use some of our smart thinking, I guess, around pre-concentration and more latterly bio-leaching. And Whim Creek was a project that I'd had in my sights for quite some time. It turned out that Venturex were very focused on Sulphur Springs being their flagship asset at the time. And we saw a perfect opportunity around about 2020 when Venturex were very focused on getting approvals in place for Sulphur Springs. Whim Creek needed a lot of love and attention. It hadn't been well maintained. It was the subject of an environmental rehabilitation requirement called an environmental protection notice. And so we took the opportunity to make an offer to Venturex to take Whim Creek, an 80% interest in Whim Creek off their hands. And where they were at, they were happy to let go of the liabilities that the project had. And so we picked up an 80% interest in Whim Creek. We, we already knew the benefits of having an asset with significant sulfide resources, lots of infrastructure, well placed geographically, right in the middle of the Western Pilbara, and that really set us up to roll out what we have over the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, great. So Venturex obviously subsequently became Develop Global, who are the 20% JV partner in Whim Creek. Tell us a little bit about Develop Global and what their strategies are. I understand that recently you've announced an intention to commence a scoping study on material from Sulphur Springs being trucked to Whim Creek to be processed via heap leach, which is fully permitted at Whim Creek. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And maybe just to put that in context, we have previously outlined the strategy of really expanding the Whim Creek project as it currently stands to become a processing hub for the region. Whim Creek will have the benefit of the heap leach infrastructure, which Straits developed, and we've acquired all of that infrastructure. And we'll also have a sulfide concentrator, so we'll have parallel processing streams. So that's where it gets really interesting, because we'll have this facility that's capable of treating pretty much any ore within the Pilbara region, whether it's oxide, transitional, or sulfide, and polymetallic ores. So Develop, just swinging back to your question on the Develop strategy, Develop plan to develop the Sulphur Springs project. The challenge with Sulphur Springs to some extent has been the mixed ore that the project has. When I say mixed ores, it's got oxide, transitional, like all virgin deposits do have. And so there's the opportunity there for the high-grade oxide and transitional ore to potentially be trucked to Whim Creek to be processed on our heap leach infrastructure. And that will possibly provide a very good outcome for the Sulphur Springs project, in that that material will be treated early on. And of course, for the joint venture, which is what we're really focused on, it provides us scale. It means that we're utilizing, as you said, the fully permitted heap leach infrastructure. We're producing products, copper cathode, zinc sulfate. These are high-value products that go into battery metals, the fertilizer business. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and we're very excited about the opportunity to potentially be working together on this study process.
Yeah, I'll say. So it seems to me, from Develop's perspective, they get to treat this oxide transitional ore material that currently sits outside their mine plan that they considered in their June 23 definitive feasibility study. And for Anax, it sort of serves as the first practical opportunity for you to show your wares as a potential processing hub for there are several other stranded sort of base metal assets in the region that could also consider treating their material through Whim Creek.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is the first point, if you like, in this consolidation strategy that we're rolling out. And again, to put a bit of context around that, one of the biggest challenges to developing new projects is the approvals process, particularly getting approvals for tailings dams. And what happens with smaller assets is, aside from the capital constraints of putting in all the processing infrastructure, there are huge headwinds in terms of the approvals processes. And by building a processing hub that can essentially treat any of the material within our region of the Pilbara, we provide, as you said, stranded assets, a pathway to monetization. And that's exactly what we're planning to do. The fact that we're able to treat any of these ore types, whether they're oxide or primary sulfides, and whatever the mix of polymetallic metals are, we believe we'll be able to treat, because we've got we'll have a full sequential float. We're setting ourselves up in a very strong position to become a significant producer in the Pilbara.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, obviously, the idea of treating third-party material is a great longer-term sort of strategy, but it seems to me that the Whim Creek resources that you've got and the DFS that came out last year in 2023 about treating the material that you have within your own fully permitted operations are really the starting point. Can you tell us a little bit about what the DFS achieved and the robust sort of economic parameters that were concluded as a result of it?
Sure, and I'll just swing back to where we started off here and what attracted us to Whim Creek. We could see when we acquired this project that it would be a robust producer of at least strategic metals, being copper, and then the zinc is obviously very important. Whim Creek has a resource base of in excess of 11 million tonnes at percent copper, just under 2% zinc, and then some really useful lead, silver, and gold byproduct credit grades. We've outlined or completed a feasibility study that demonstrates a project with an 8-year mine life that'll deliver about or generate about 400 million in free cash over that 8-year mine life. And it's got a low capital development cost. The reason for the low capex is the significant infrastructure that's already there, and the fact that we're able to use pre-concentration to reduce the scale of processing infrastructure. So pre-production capex of only about $70 million, obviously talking Australian dollars, and then a working capital of about 15. So you're talking all up about $90 million with a bit of contingency in there to get into a project with an 8-year mine life. We've got organic growth potential. 2 of our resources are open at depth. Evelyn's only been drilled to 170 meters. and it's a very high-grade underground mine, or will be a high-grade underground mine. And Salt Creek is also open at depth. So we've got this robust project. It's open pit for the first 3 to 4 years. In the Pilbara, all the mining infrastructure around it, we've got gas, reticulated gas into site. So power costs are relatively low in terms of Pilbara power costs. We sit right on the Northwest Highway. So from a logistics perspective, it's very simple. The products will go out through Port Hedland. We've got a bore field, all the workshops and offices already established on site. So when you put all those together, it's a relatively low risk because of the open pit, simple open pit mining, high grade resources. That's all a good mix for a starting point in a project. And then organic growth at Evelyn and Salt Creek. And then, of course, we swing back to the consolidation for the scalability for really growing the project. But it is all about what we control at the minute. We've got the robust Whim Creek project where, looking at financing solutions for that robust Whim Creek project.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about the company, and I declare my own shareholding, is, in the time of rising copper prices, and, it is an extremely, buoyant period at the moment for the copper market, you've got a project that is fully permitted in a tier 1 jurisdiction that has got infrastructure already in place, doesn't require Anax to spend to install. And you've got, a really robust project that can get into production with a low capital hurdle. It ticks so many boxes for me. I mean, what is you mentioned just then the idea of proceeding ahead with financing options. Is that sort of, the next step for the project to get you sort of to an FID stage?
Yeah, so we obviously completed the definitive feasibility study and then started having a look at how we can finance the project. We've been in discussions with a number of parties, and as you'd expect, the trading groups are, I guess, most likely to provide debt financing outcomes that would be best for us. And I say that because that debt financing would likely be linked to offtake or some level of offtake. So we've been talking to a number of trading parties and also some boutique mining funds as well. And we are looking at getting, debt financing in place. And that'll obviously be contingent on getting equity financing in place as well. So we've got a bit of work to do on that front. And we're continuing on that path along with looking at the expansion plans for the project. And I bring that up because being able to give people a sense of growth scale is important. While the Whim Creek project on its own is financially very robust, and it'll produce about 12,000 tonne a year of copper equivalent. Ultimately, we're looking to become a producer of probably in excess of 20,000 tonne a year of copper equivalent, and that line of sight to scale is important in our being able to attract equity finances and also on the offtake side, people are always keen to see growth.
Yeah, I mean, and I suppose just on the financials with the project, it's been about 12 months since the DFS was completed. Obviously, as I mentioned before, there has been a substantial improvement in the copper price. The DFS considered all-in sustaining costs of the equivalent of $3.28 Australian dollars per pound. That the current copper price, using today's foreign exchange rate, is sort of well north of $6.30. So there is, really substantial margin there, and I think that if you can get some production levels of scale to put you on the radar of some of these trading houses and financial sort of institutions that could help fund the project, you've got some really strong financing options at your fingertips. So That's really interesting. You mentioned the upside potential at Evelyn and Salt Creek from an exploration point of view. There's also some companies in your neck of the woods that have had success in lithium exploration after sort of pivoting from base metals projects. You've got a bit of lithium potential at Whim Creek. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so the Pilbara has been an amazing place, really. When you think it's probably best known for the iron ore production, but most recently lithium has really come to the fore, and we obviously sit within the sort of emerging lithium province, if you like. So as you'd expect, we have run the ruler over the tenure that we've got. We've got relatively modest area of exploration tenure in the Pilbara, certainly by Pilbara standards, but we sit in a fantastic region from an exploration potential, and we have been doing a lot of work, particularly around the geochemistry, soil sampling, rock chip sampling, looking at lithium potential. And, there's certainly some anomalous areas that have caught our interest. And we'll, at the right time, we will be following up on those. I think currently the focus will remain on the development of the base metal project, and any lithium exploration is something that will happen potentially in the background. And I think I just like to bring up, we also sit right on the border of the De Grey tenure, and so it's not only lithium, but there's also some gold potential on our ground, and there's some of the structures that De Grey have been so successful on exploring on run through the southern part of our tenure. So from an exploration perspective, there's certainly lots of upside. We will focus again on the near mine exploration potential around Salt Creek and Evelyn, and probably a little bit around Mont Capri in the immediate future, but look to the blue sky upside of gold and lithium down the track.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I can see that there's lots of different commodities that you can go exploring for within such a sort of well-endowed mineralised district as the Pilbara. You've been really well supported by some of your major shareholders, and you've got a strong team. The board's well represented on the share register as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of your key shareholders and supporters, and also maybe a little bit about the team that hopefully will deliver Whim Creek as a producing mine down the track?
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'll talk team first, and then a little bit about the shareholding. Probably the best way to talk about the team is to talk about the successes so far. We are a small team. When we acquired the project, or the 80% interest in the project, there were only 3 or 4 of us in the team, and we've grown a little bit, but not much through that time. We have got the project fully permitted, and I'll just harp on that a bit. It's no mean feat to take a project that's subject to an environmental protection notice, to have that environmental protection notice turned over, so to speak, so that's been removed entirely, and then to get a project fully permitted. So we achieved that. In parallel, we completed the definitive feasibility study, and we've engaged with contractors in preparation for the development phase of the project. And that's all been possible with a high-performing, dedicated team. And that includes key people like Andrew McDonald, who's our general manager. We've got Dan O'Hara, who's our environmental manager, who's seen all of the approvals process through, Janine Owen, who's our CFO. And then we've got a group of very closely linked consultants. There's Nexus Bonham, which is, I guess, our technology and engineering arm, and key people there include Gavin Nunes and Tony Parry. And so really that's the core team that's delivered on all of this. And, we're very proud of what we've achieved so far. Swinging back to the shareholding, and yes, absolutely, we've got probably two key shareholders. One, our chairman, Philip Jackson, who has been has put significant funds into the Anax story over time, and then we've got another major shareholder, through Jealousy, and Charlie Arve has been a strong supporter of us. He controls 20% of the register, and he's been in from the early days. So, very thankful for the support of those key people. And I'll just also mention that the whole board has committed funds through the process. We've all got skin in the game, quite significant skin in the game, and I think that's important.
For sure, it's a big box tick.
Yeah. No, we're all very, very committed.
Well, that's great. A lot of people will remember the Pink Pub, positioned halfway between Karratha and Port Hedland. Used to be a great spot to drop in during a long drive and have a cold beer. I understand that you're working with the local Aboriginal community there to try and bring the pub back to life, and perhaps even use it as an accommodation centre for the Whim Creek operations. Is that right?
Yeah, as you say, Lucas, even if people don't know about the mine out the back, most people have either been to the Pink Pub on the highway or seen it as they drive past. And it was originally, during the Straits days, the pub ran as a hotel, pub and mine camp, and all of that infrastructure is still there. The infrastructure, the pub, and everything is owned by the Nalama Group, who are the traditional owners in that area, in our area. And so we've been, as you say, working with them, looking at the potential to help them refurbish the pub and bring that back to its former state, and be able to serve people a cold beer on their way through, but also having a look at the potential to have as you say, sort of almost an accommodation hub that would accommodate our people and possibly people from some of the other operations that may start up around us. So there is various scenarios that could play out there. But whatever, I expect that at some point the Whim Creek pub will be serving cold beers again, and I guess we all look forward to that.
My word, it'll be a good place to go to celebrate the mine reopening, I'd say, Geoff.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. I mean, I can see that with a fully permitted project and a low capex hurdle in a rising tide environment for copper, Anax and the Whim Creek project really are going to be a first mover in the copper space on the ASX, and there is a hell of a lot of leverage in the opportunity that exists in the market at the moment from Anax's point of view. So I encourage interested junior mining investors to have a really good look at the Anax story. Geoff, I don't know if you've got any closing comments. Thanks very much. You've got a real tiger by the tail here, I think. So good luck with it.
Well, thanks, Lucas. Always a pleasure to chat, and we really look forward to the next few months and being able to provide a lot more news to our patient shareholders and to the market generally on not only the development of Whim Creek itself, but on this growth strategy, which I think we're sort of really just getting a hold of now. So very excited to move ahead on all of that.
Yeah, well, congratulations on getting the first leg of that growth strategy knocked over with this intention to complete a scoping study with Develop on Sulphur Springs. That'll be really interesting to see where that goes, and hopefully it's the first of many such arrangements that you can sort of strike with other ore bodies within the region.
Exactly.
Thanks, Geoff. That was a great chat. All the best.
Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you for listening to the Corporate Storytime podcast. We're really trying to build our audience for the podcast and aim to deliver regular episodes of our chats with executives from some of the ASX's most interesting companies. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your friends, follow the podcast and give us a like wherever you download it. And if you have any feedback, please drop us a line at info@corporatestorytime.com. Thanks and all the best.